Hey, I gotta turn this light down. It is just blasting me. Oh, and my cat. Please, no, no, no. You know you're not allowed up here. Okay, you guys. You don't know who I am. I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer, and I'm struggling with my stupid equipment right now. It's too dark in here not to use a light, as you can see. Why am I? Okay, let's try this again. Down, up, all around. Down. Now I can see myself and I'm not blasted. Hey, Christine, this has been one of those days, and I swore I wasn't going to do a live tonight. I originally said I was going to do a live recap of where we are on the Katie Joy thing because so much has happened. But tonight I can't do that. I had all afternoon people PMing me, except for the 3 hours where I didn't have any kind of electricity and I was outside my pool. A lot of people asking me about something from a couple of weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago, I found on Facebook a lady by the name of Mrs Cartman Crane, who had apparently decided that she hated Katie Joy Paulson as much as anybody I've ever met. She was constantly going after her, but she's also using things to justify her hate that were kind of silly. Like a good example would be she was using a video by Unirock. And we know Unirock is one of Katie's big supporters. The Cartman Crane. Shelley, have you had problems with the Cartman Crane, or am I the lone stranger? I was very agitated this afternoon. I was getting ready to do this, and I swear I was typing in the description, and I lost power for 3 hours. Best thing in the world. Floating in the pool with this, thinking about things, and realizing it doesn't matter a squirt of piss in the wind. But I'm still going to go through it because it's so ridiculous. It's confect. And we don't need to be having any more schisms in our little group. Man, I'm freezing. What's going on here? So if you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I wrote for Pathos for nearly 10 years. Column called No Longer Quivering about fundamentalist religion. I got the pineapple one. Happy Friday. I got the pineapple one too. I got pineapple and strawberry. My favorite one, though, I got to say, is lime. What's it? Lime mango? It's lime. That's my favorite one, but I drink those first, and those are gone, gone, gone. So do all the YouTubey things if you want. If you don't do them. Don't bully anybody or be rude to anybody I'm about to talk about. It's just not even worth it. So a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or so, I saw Miss Cartman Crane was talking on Facebook about her hate for Katie Joy Paulson. And I saw a few familiar names talking to her. And there were a couple of things that were said that I had to just correct because she had them wrong. And I finally figured out that what's going on with them, God, I hate this light, is it's sort of a, what do you call it? They're newbies. They're new to the community. So they don't really understand the way things are done in the Katie Joy community. I'm afraid that they're about to get themselves sued or worse because we know how she is. So let's go through all of this before we have another schism in our group. I talked about Mrs. Cartman Crane on Facebook, I think on Twitter, and once on a video. And the next thing I know, somebody by the name of Erica pops up and starts telling me how wrong I am in my own damn live stream. She just kept going on and on and on and on about how wrong I was and how I screwed everything up. And the last conversations I had with Erica, she kept saying that I was impacting her bottom line, her bottom dollar. I finally looked her up, and she was a small creator with only 33 subs. So I'm not sure how I was impacting her dollar amount. She would not tell me. She just like the one that's in Reddit right now. We've heard it all before. Got a new one in Reddit? Well, here's the thing. I think Mrs. Cartman Crane is new to the thing. So she doesn't understand the history. And if you forget your history, people forget their history are doomed to repeat it. And I would rather not see people get hurt and crushed and sued and various other things. I mean, we have to look all the way back to when Tati Westbrook sued Katie in the fall of 2020. Does anybody remember what happened with the Natalie Kennett, the Natalie Kennett thing? Lorianne Barnhart? They gave depositions to Salty, and they were both lying. There was so much lying going on, and so many different things that it threw a racket, it threw a wrench, a spanner, whatever you want to call it, into the whole proceedings, and it just made everything turn into a cluster. You know what? So now we have new people that are flooding in because of yeah, what a crap show. You're right, exactly. So now we have new people flooding in because of the Marvin McRae thing. And let me just say about the Marvin McRae thing, these people are private citizens. They're not celebrities. He tried to kill himself. I'm not sure what all the constant live streams is about. And I'm not putting anybody down for having these constant live streams. I'm just saying I don't quite understand the why this was the story they all picked. It's helped KJ's. Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about. All these new people flooding in, they need to know that they cannot do anything that helps KJ maintain the perpetual victimhood facade. You can't just say, "Oh, she's been stealing. I have all this evidence." You can't. You can't say that you're going to bring lawsuits against her and not do it. You have to show receipts. It's essential. You got to, because if you don't show receipts, you're just another yammering voice in the void, doing the exact same thing that she is doing to the McRaes. You're just running your mouth, gossiping. We've seen this. We've seen this happen again and again in this community. And people get all stirred up for this or that, and it turns out none of it matters a hill of beans in the long run. You're right, Christine. If it weren't for social media, we'd know nothing about the poor man. Well, I don't know. We might see something or other in a live stream about criminal cases, because the police have been looking at this thing, and I'm not sure why they are, because this is straightforward suicide. Even though KJ said that his wife got him all hepped up on kratom and tried to kill him. She did say that. Now she's taking Dre's side. So if you're just gossiping and you're not showing receipts, you're doing you're just enabling her to keep taking the victim road, to say, I'm a victim because they're all ganged up on me and they're beating me up and they're stalking me and they're doing X, Y, and Z. So if you're constantly filling your timeline with that latest outrages of KJ and you're not talking about anything else, and you don't have receipts for the crap you're saying, you're just making her worse. You're feeding the victim mentality, which makes me crazy. So throwing those unverifiable claims around, it impacts all of us. It hurts us all, because that allows her to keep playing victim. It allows her to keep pushing this narrative that everyone is evil and she's not, and we're all after her. And that makes her subs take crazier and crazier actions all the time. So we really don't want that. She has made his tragedy about her. I can't stand to see her or hear her voice. Christine, I'm the same way. I can't even watch clip shows because it just makes me crazy. We need to boycott her. You're right. And that's why with Steve McRae, I was pushing no hate watching August. Don't hate watch her. Don't. Um, And unverifiable claims without receipts can get you sued. We've seen that KJ does occasionally sue people, and taking out restraining orders. She takes out TROs, temporary restraining orders, at the drop of a hat. And if you're running around saying she is committing a crime and you have zero proof of this, you put yourself squarely in the crosshairs for her to do that to her. Nerdily. Okay, I have been so against her until I started watching some of the others covering Vaughn, and she's tolerable called compared to them. I know she has a long history. Yep. Everything is on Facebook. That's the sad thing, and you're right, Nerdali. It is, her coverage isn't even that bad. Some of the other coverages I've seen are awful. I suggest we leave that poor family alone. We just leave them alone. It's their tragedy. They are mourning, coming to grips with what's happened. They don't need us to dissect every little bit of their personal tragedy. And here's something else that has bothered me for a long time. Every time we have an influx of new people into the anti-KJ community, don't just show up in the cater community and try to dictate to the OGs what to do or believe. Don't do that. There are a lot of us in the community that have been tracking her for years, myself 2 years, and I don't consider myself an OG because I know people who've been watching her 3 years, as long as she's been on YouTube. And even before that, with her Pathos column, I knew her because I worked with her. I knew her for about a year before she started YouTube. I can tell you horror stories about work. She was very difficult to deal with. And that is my problem with her, goes way back, but it has its genesis in working with her on Pathos and seeing all the crap she was putting myself and others through. Yes, leave them alone. I wish your family would back away from these creators. Absolutely. I wish I would too. So if you're going to come in here and disrespect people who've been doing this for years, who know what they're talking about and know all the stuff KJ has done, then you can't just throw out conspiracy theories without having the receipts to back them up. You're just going to get yourself dissed, like I did to Miss Cartman Crane and to Erica. No receipts, no believing. I watched her for 3 years since the Janny stuff. Oh, just to clarify, I wasn't defending her. Just noticed she's toned it down a lot lately. I think she's toned it down a lot lately because she's been losing subscribers. And so many people are pretending she's the devil. And she's pretty bad, but she's not the devil. There's a lot of other people worse. You just give her every opportunity to play victim and protect. That one went out down the wrong way. By showing up and making a crap about how many news outlets or gossip channels have wanted to contact her, Googled her, and changed their mind. Quite a few, Shelley. And every time we have an influx of new people who start beating the drums, you just give her the opportunity to play victim. You just make her worse. You just make her be able to pretend she's being harassed, that everybody's after her. You feed into her paranoia and her narcissistic tendencies. You play into her hands with the attacks and the pronouncements. And she uses all that. She files it away. She realizes that she can pretend that she's being harassed. Now about this Molly Golightly and her, like I said, I wasn't too thrilled with Molly because Molly has done some things that I think are pretty out there, like showing up at Brian Laundrie's house and screaming from the sidewalk. Really, who does that? I like how Molly has handled some of this, but not all of it. I was disgusted when she posted Vaughn's family's legal issues. They had nothing to do with what happened to him. She loves to dig up dirt on people to make herself feel superior. Christine, I believe she does that the minute she thinks that you might turn on her. She digs up your dirt and she publicizes it. The only thing she's ever had on me is that she says that I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I worked with her for a year. She just doesn't have any dirt on me because the only dirt there is to be found is the time that I got a big pile of parking tickets and started fighting with the small town I lived in Virginia about their downtown parking situation. You're right. Molly Gololly isn't the same as KJ, but is just as harmful. I believe so too. The best thing to do when it comes to Katie is to sit back and watch her self destruct at this point. She's on a pretty deep spiral this time around. Hey, dirty Uncle Sal. I believe she's on a. What are you talking to me about? A cat is talking to me, and I don't have a clue. She's been doing this all on. How in the hell is she keeping up the pace? It's been relentless for years at the point. I believe she has chemical help. You know, she's taken Adderall for ADD. And so I have friends that are on Adderall who are just perfectly stable. Hey, Bermuda's triangulation. And Uncle Saul, your cat knows I have your Jordan almonds. That must be what she knows. She has been bugging me like that for the last hour or so, and I don't have a clue what she wants. I fed her, I petted her, I gave her new water, I did everything that I could do that I could think of, including giving her some milk. I have ADD since childhood. So do I, Bermuda's triangulation. I have it too. And I didn't even realize how bad I had it till I worked at a clinic with a bunch of doctors. And the head doctor said, "You've got ADD. I can tell by the way you're jumping around and doing all that." And he's right. And after I did a lot of reading on it, I figured out ways to navigate my life. And some things help more than others. I take a stimulant and it doesn't make me more productive. It helps me be as productive as others. Oh, wow. I don't take a stimulant at all. I'm just incredibly organized with my life, and I have everything segmented so I can handle it because I've discovered for myself to walk into a dirty room and a very dirty room will set me off my ADD and I won't even know where to start. But if I do a little bit every day, I'm perfectly fine. How's the weather down here? It is hot, 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 dirty Uncle Sal. We lost power for an hour, several hours this afternoon, 2 or 3 hours. And I just got in the pool. I was so agitated about all this crap because I had so many PMs asking me about Mrs. Cartman Crane, who I believe actually is the other person I was talking about, Eric. I believe they're one and the same. I was told that she wasn't part of the justice for Vaughn thing, but I don't know. I have my doubts. Some of the justice for Vaughn people are kind of out there too, and some of them are joining the anti-community and they're just going nuts. So this is my thing to them: calm down, young things. Calm down, sit down, and learn. And do not do what you're doing, where you're attacking her and you're giving her fuel for her a narcissistic victimization. Hey, T King, good to see ya. Missed the Cartman Kane stuff. Should I look at an older video for it? Nerdly, it wasn't much of anything. I mentioned her once because she had mentioned on Facebook that KJ was going to be prosecuted for having raised money for the family that actually wasn't for the family, that was going to be used for KJ. That's what they were saying. And I just basically said, no receipts, no legal paperwork, then it's an unsubstantiated rumor. And they got very, very, very pissed off with that. And that's when Erica started shutting off live streams, trying to batter me around, trying to get me to say that the thing that her and Mrs. Cartman were saying was true. I said, legal paperwork or it's not true. You know, we have learned in this community, we have to see receipts when somebody says, oh, X, Y, and Z happened. You know, there's times when I have misremembered something. I've gone back to look and I've had to tell somebody, hey, sorry, I misremembered that. But I always do that because it doesn't do us any good if we're making up rumors. We have to have verifiable facts. If you say somebody's suing the person, there's got to be paperwork somewhere. Didn't that person post saying people had to go to her exclusively for info to report that Cash App thing? Yes, dirty Uncle Sal, that's true. So there is some effery going on in everywhere with the newer people flooding in, with Mrs. Cartman Crane, quote, Erica, with her 33 subscribers, saying that I was killing her financials, and she never would explain why. I kept saying, what do you mean? Explain, explain. And she never did. Finally, I just went ahead and blocked all of them. I'm hopeful about the Reddit one. I'll send a link on Twitter. I looked at Reddit this afternoon. Um, T King, I try to be honest. I try to be honest. I try to be ethical, even ethical. I will give her the benefit of the doubt if they're saying she's raising money illegally and putting it in her pocket. I gotta say, it kind of looks that way with at least one of the cash apps that people are sharing about. There's one of them, it looks like it might be going straight to her. So I don't know. But I do know there has been so many gatekeepers of information in the new group that it's kind of scary. We don't need to be gatekeeping any information. If anything, we should be sharing and preparing. And we should be reporting all of the live streams on Facebook where she's crossing the line. You, my friend, are the definitive work ethics and Ross. Thank you so much, Chronically Bee Queen. I don't know about work ethic. I'm just one of those people that I just can't stand lying liars and lie. I just never could. And when Pathos paired her with me and told me to kind of watch out for her and help her a little bit, I had no idea what I was getting into. Most of the time, 99% of the time when that happened, I would talk to the person once, say, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? And that would be the extent of it. But she was constantly PMing me. And a lot of it was just crazy complaints about everybody we worked with. There were some people that I didn't like that I worked with, but I wasn't about to tell anybody that, hey, I don't like so-and-so, because it's a work environment and you have to get along with everybody, even if you're all independent contractors and not real employees, like she tried to say she was a employee of Pathos. She was never an employee of Pathos. I'm sorry, I'm hearing weird noises outside. Maybe it's Roadhog's moderators trying to come up over the back wall. You can call me Brooklyn. Katie is a pathological liar. I would love to do a case study on her for my homework. Brooklyn, I thought about that. I thought about a documentary. I was taking notes for ages of all the crazy stuff that happened every single day, because every day with her, there is something that emerges. Thank you so much, my yarn fun. Thanks to you so much, Nerdly. Yarn money, drama. Nobody, yeah, I know. The drama has gotten ridiculous. So I appreciate the passion of the new people coming in from the Marvon McCrae crowd disliking Katie, but they're going to have to take it down several thousand notches. KJ would eat that up. It would feed her narcissism. You wouldn't, yeah, you'd believe that. You also, so much yarn. Oh my goodness. I buy silly amounts of it. I have like 3 case studies for homework in a couple of weeks. Katie is so full of drama. Brooklyn, I would love to know what's driving that. I would love to see what's driving that entire bus. Yeah, you're right. Nobody, there's no such thing as too much yarn. No such thing. I may have to make another yarn run to the States anyway. And go see my kids. She may become case law one day, regulating YouTube. Sarah Ann, I believe that may be happening too. Brooklyn, I believe it was also in her childhood. You look back at who we are, a lot of it stems out of childhood. I gotta say, I really appreciated my father. I'm gonna give my father the shout out tonight, because he was really the parent that I looked up to, that I was the one that was the closest to. Now, he had his weird sense of humor, just like me, but he had a strong work ethic. He also was honest to a default, and he liked to help people who were in trouble, but he was, I mean, honest, honest, honest. He wasn't going to put up with BS from anybody. I just need more storage. I do too. I'm thinking I'm going to build another room onto the house. We're going to do a sunroom after I spent a lovely month in my daughter's sunroom. We're already taking bids. Went today with some measurements for the kitchen to get custom kitchen cabinetry, more things put in. My curiosity is what caused KJ in her life to make her the way she is. Something must have happened. Um, Carol, Kay, I have some theories about that. She has talked in the past about, oh, Shelly, air conditioner guy, we're going with somebody else. We already hired somebody else, gotten a cheaper price. So there you go. It was one of those things we had to deal with. We had to fire that guy. So the thing with Katie's childhood, I really got the impression from everything that she had shared with me about her childhood, which wasn't much, that there wasn't a lot of affection in her life between her and her parents. I don't know why. Her parents may have been cold to her. You never know with people. You never know with their parents. Like I said, my father was my good parent. He was the one that loved me, took me everywhere, taught me things. I know how to use a saw and a hammer because of him. Oh, what kind of computer? I use my old beat up laptop. Brooklyn, that's exactly what I'm using. Sorry, kitty. And what do you want, girl? Wow. Um, extraordinarily ordinary, and she thinks she's better than that. Shelley, I think there's some touches of she sure fits the profile for certain types of narcissistic personality disorder, and a few other things. I think that she just, there's not enough love or acclaim or attention positive in her life, so this is what she chooses to do because she wants the attention. And that's what I would like the newbies to understand. We're talking about a woman that there is not enough attention in this entire world to fix her. There's not. Positive, negative, whatever. There's just not. And she fits the spectrum on the schizophrenia spectrum. Oh, Brooklyn. Now that is a ball of wax I'm going to have to do some reading on. I don't know that much about schizophrenia. I think she's extremely lonely, miserable person. Presley, I'm sure that she is. But here's the thing. She's doing real damage to people. If it was just her running around running her mouth about stupid stuff, that would be one thing. But she's done some real harm to people. I mean, genuine, hardcore things. She got LB arrested for something she didn't even do. Does anyone remember when she told the essay story from her 20s? She said her parents made her go to their restaurant for their 40th anniversary. I will never forget that. Sarah Ann, I remember that too. And I remember thinking at the time, how horrifically insensitive of her parents. And that makes me wonder if her parents ever paid her any mind, because why else would you be seeking so much attention any way you can get it? I don't know about you guys, but I enjoy coming on here and yakking. I just do, especially since I stopped writing for Pathos and talking about various aspects of different things, and sometimes nothing or everything. Sometimes I feel like the old lady version of Seinfeld, because this is a show about nothing. Because none of this matters, a fart in a whirlwind, and yeah, I have 2 degrees from psychology, and there is a spectrum of schizophrenia. That is really interesting. Bermuda's triangulation, I was thinking insecurity. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Why else would you go to the trouble of the constant Botox injections and the other things that she's doing. I don't get it. Also, drama for clicks. I don't get any of the stuff she does. I don't get all the stuff. And I know that I got under her skin when I grew my hair out long. Like I said, I have COVID hair. This is my COVID hair because here I'm in Tamarindo. There are no decent hairdressers. Everything is in a huge flux here because of the pandemic. And I just go in once in a great while for a trim now. I didn't start out to get long hair, but every time one of her people comes after me, 99% of the time they say something about my hair, which leads me to believe that on a Discord or somewhere she's ranting about my hair, which is so sad. Right now, she's going after Molly Golightly because Molly Golightly has been more successful than her on some really basic levels. She's gone after Emily D. Baker. Emily D. Baker is incredibly successful when she's not. In fact, I thought about not going on at all tonight because I think that Emily D. Baker is probably on at the same time I am. And that's never a good thing. That usually means that I have two people in here, which is okay. I mean, that's okay. I'll scream with two people, but oh my goodness. Emily D. Baker is a powerhouse now. This whole Johnny Depp thing has really pushed her up high to the point she goes to. I've never seen anyone be so mean and get away with it as long as she has. That's the kicker. Shelley, exactly. What the fuck does your hair have to do with anything? Nobody, I don't know, but she has made it about something. Her subs show up and yell about it and say nasty things about my hair. And I'm just like, where are you getting this? And then I see her frantically tugging on her hair to make it longer. And I think that it's coming from her. Insecurity can mean I take you down to feel good about myself. Yep. I'm also burned out about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I hate to say it. I don't care. They're both from Hollywood. Let them go back to Hollywood and iron out whatever, because they both sound like there's some faults on both sides. She crapped on the bed. He may have substance abuse issues. There's plenty to go around. No diagnosis. We're not diagnosing her tonight. So anything we're saying about her is not diagnosis. What do you want, girl? Again, wants petting. So you've taken a trip tonight into the tiny little world of KJ hate. The new people coming on board need to know not to go so hard, to track everything she's doing, and to have receipts. Have receipts. Don't throw out mentions of this or that or the other thing without being able to prove it, because we're going to ask you for proof. We got screwed too many times on the whole thing with Tati Westbrook, where Natalie Kennett inserted herself with a fake declaration, and Lorianne Barnhart. Now she's leaping around folding the rug, so I don't know what her problem is. You're mad. You're folding the rug. That's too funny, Carol. I think her issues stem from the possibility maybe she just has always had an abrasive personality that even her parents just couldn't stand. I've seen something similar happen to a nephew. I've seen people like that too. Hell, I've been one of them every now and then. Every now and then I'll go into my contrarian mode. My husband could tell you there's no pleasing me then. Who ignores a whack ton of cease and desist? Katie Joy! Katie Joy ignores them. She has ignored them. She ignored 4 of them from Tati Westbrook. I truly believe KJ was responsible for Dad's involvement in the community. Dirty Uncle Sal, I do. She brought her in. I believe it. And I believe that Nat is an agent of chaos. It's been released. Now, KJ, the newest thing she's saying is she's saying that Molly Golightly and Justin from Justice for All are being investigated by the FBI. I kind of doubt that. She has made a lot of claims about somebody she knows at the FBI called FBI Steve. I guess she's got to have a good Steve to balance out Steve McCrae, who she thinks is the bad Steve. I think she needs to go the way of the early YouTubers that self-destructed. Everyone needs to unsubscribe and ghost her. She no longer deserves a channel with the way she treats others. I agree, but I think it's gonna take Todd Chrisley asking for her channel to be taken down I, as part of the settlement. I believe that very sincerely. Did Steve tell her that? I don't know what FBI Steve has told her lately. Agent Steve has got loose lips, and loose lips sink those ships. So shut up, Steve, whichever Steve you are. Somebody is out there pounding around, and I don't know who it is. My husband's not here. He went to eat greasy barbecue and watch a friend of ours play music. I think she's still in contact with Nat, and she could get her to come in and deflect again her lawsuits in this Marvin situation. She'd do it in a second. Dirty Uncle Sal, I don't doubt that Nat has already had contact with lawyers and has tried to give depositions. I hope that Todd Chrisley's lawyers are smart enough not to listen to any of that nonsense. Mission, that's what everyone wants. But she's a car wreck, and the world is full of rubberneckers. Yeah, that's true. I hope 7M takes it down if Todd Chrisley doesn't. Exactly, and I think they actually stand a better chance than Todd. I hope Todd does it, but 7M, I doubt that Pastor Shen is going to let her weasel out of this one. Bermuda's Triangulation. I love barbecue too, but I don't love barbecue at this place where they went. The place where they went is greasy. The tables, every time you touch the tables, you're like, oh, I've got to wash my hands now. And everything is pre-prepared. I mean, processed foods. And I don't do processed foods. I don't do well. As having mass out, I don't do well with pre-processed foods. I usually eat a pretty clean diet as a result. So the 7M thing, the things she said, it's funny because she doesn't mention 7M at all anymore. 7M is an example of something she was trying to make happen. I really think she's going to be hit by karma's dump truck this time around. Dirty Uncle Sal, from your lips to God's ear. I hope so. I hope so, because this has just been nerve-wracking. For me, when she first stood me up and then blocked me and lied about it to all of her followers, telling them that she talked to me and I was perfectly fine and we were buddies and I hadn't heard word one from her, was pretty bad. Particularly since I had to get up and double med to be able to do it because I was quite sick then. But the worst thing was discovering how much content of mine she had used on her channel and misused and misquoted. Like when she started calling Michael Pearl's child beating manual Train a Child, when the true title of the book is To Train Up a Child. It was just things like that. She has always messed up the little details. That's what's always gotten her in trouble. That's what's always going to get her in trouble. Yep, she can act like it's not an issue, but those dates are coming up quick. Yes, they are. And I am contemplating dialing into the hearings if I can. And when they actually have the trials, maybe I'll have to do a stateside yarn run to Minnesota. I think it'd be kind of fun to sit there and watch the trials unfold. Not say anything, just sit there, take notes, and smile. I talked to Todd Chrisley and said, I'll testify for you, whatever you want, because I remember when she first started writing about Todd and saying that he had done a sex tape. Here, go in the windows. Go. Get in the window. See what I got to put up with here? And she's only one of the strays that we're taking care of now. This one lives in my bedroom only. And she's freaking out about something outside. You better pay attention to cat before she poops in your shoe. She won't do that. My shoes are put up because she likes to chew on my shoes, and I don't like it. Carol! Yes, this time I'm doing a live. I just got kind of irritated with some of the newbies who were coming into the Ann and Katie Joy community who were upset that I would not believe them when they said that there was all this legal paperwork being filed on Katie Joy. I said, no, papers or it didn't happen. Got to have receipts. It's just, what? What? She's upset about something and I have no idea. No idea what she's trying to tell me. The house is not on fire. There's thumping going on outside. I have no clue what that is, but my across the street neighbor routinely pulls the engine out of his car and works on it. Like I said, we've got a real mixed bag of a neighborhood. We've got lots of neighbors that are well-to-do. We have lots of neighbors that aren't so well-to-do. And back there behind us on the main road is a car repair shop. So I hear some of the noise once in a great while. The wall stops a lot of it, but we do sometimes hear it. So people, I always say this, but if you're here to please hit the thumbs up. Yes, hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up, hit the like, hit the bell notifications, subscribe if you feel like it. And don't bother KJ. See, that's one of the things about the newbies that they really need to do. I've only gone into her lives twice, both of them those Facebook lives, and both times I said, you are no reporter or journalist. You need to stop telling people you are. You've not had the training. You don't have the education or the training for it. And that has been it. She just does not have that education or training. Patty has told us to rebrand ourselves from bloggers to something else. Most of us chose daily columnist, opinion writer, something like that. She chose journalist. So that's where her journalist moniker comes from. Not even an anchor man. Well, I wonder how she would do in an anchor man spot, because that's one thing I've always found fascinating about the job is some of the anchor men I owned in my lifetime have been some pretty dumb people that read anything you put on the teleprompter. Not all of them, but there are some that have been. What do you think she'll do when she loses her channel? Career-wise. I think she's going to try to take her act on the road. You know how when the Hogs got Real Entertainment News' channel pulled? He just went to another forum. He just went to another, I can't even think of which one he went to, but he went to another place that hosts videos. That's all he did. I wish him well. I wish the Hogs hadn't have done that. But wishes were horses. More stalker than journalist. Her husband even laughed at her for calling herself a journalist. Yep, you can't do that. Twitch, that's right. He went to Twitch. I think she'll go to Twitch and start all over again. I don't think that this is going to stop until somebody actually physically stops her. Now, exactly why her husband is putting up with all of this, it's got to be because the money she was making was supposedly pretty good. And it's stupid because if you're doing YouTube channel just to make money, you're missing the whole point of YouTube. That's just me. If you make a little money as you're going along, that's not a bad thing either. But thinking that that is the only reason is really missing the point. I think some people struggle to find who they are on YouTube and to find their groove. And with her groove seems to be making shit up again Arnold. I'm doing the anti-hater non-watch. Carol, that's what I'm doing. I am just waiting for Llama Girl to put up her clips and I watch the clips. That's it. And I don't even watch the clip shows that other people do. If I see that Renelle, God bless her soul, is doing a thing on Katie and she's using a lot of Katie clips, I will fast forward to those parts because I can't even stand to hear her voice now. Have you seen some of her purchases? $100 plus makeup palette. I'm a little jealous. I think she already has another channel. Remember, she had Toad's channel. No, it's really sad they didn't let him do his historical content because I watched one of his and I actually kind of liked it. Todd, KJ, if you're listening, please unlock Todd from the chain and let him do more historical videos. That might have been his jam. There are a lot of very good historical YouTubers out there. With a little work, he could have been one. She could have been so much more than this. What a mess she's made to be despised by so many. And Shelley, I've said she should have just stuck to original content like she was hired for Pathos, which would have been raising a child with chronic ailments in a world without religion. And she could have made a ton of money doing things like discussing the best ways to deal with tube feeding your child. I mean, there's a lot of different little things because people don't always talk about those things. And caregiver burnout is a real thing. She could have done so much good with that, but no. When Todd lost his job, her content started getting more desperate to be able to upload 3 times a day. I think that's the problem. They'll end up divorced. Yeah, I see that happening. He can't get any more subs than her. That's true. She'd flip out. She'd never be able to handle it if he ended up with more successful channels. He's not allowed to make a channel, period. Oh, steady money. And she got greedy. That's exactly right. But some of this nonsense started all the way back at Pathos. The whole Todd Chrisley thing started all the way back then. She wrote a couple of articles about him that have long since been pulled, where she accused him of the sex tape blackmail, and she questioned his sexuality and a bunch of other really dumb things. She wrote a series of articles about Todd Chrisley that were rather defamatory. Rather defamatory. So, Newbies, another thing. Don't give her any reason to say you're being defamatory or you're spreading slander, because if you do, she'll try to hit you with a temporary restraining order, TRO. Or her attorney, Graham Cracker, will send you an email saying that you're hereby ordered to turn over all your conversations with various people. And so it's all very interesting. I don't know where we're going to end up. It's kind of like being on the tilt-a-whirl. You feel like you're going to throw up sometimes, and sometimes it feels exhilarating. It's just gotten crazy. You know, I would love to not be able to talk about her, not have to talk about her ever, ever again. There's so much weirdness of religion to talk about. There's Anthony Beach Muscles Johnson and his Make Women Great Against conferences and his men's conferences, the 21 conferences. He's getting a lot of traction again. And there's some people in the religious world who are going to speak at his conferences, even though he's like teaching crap like how to sleep with 1,400 women. Who has time for that anyway? She picked my brain about the Duggars. And the Duggars have been the steadiest source of income. And she's heard me say before, back when I was writing for Pathos, sometimes we go, come on, Josh, reoffend. Well, none of us meant reoffend as in actually hurt somebody or to go to CP. We meant be caught with another Ashley Madison, be caught with another scandal, something like that, because she used every single little bit of gossip that I told her about the Duggars that local people said. She used that as the gospel truth. I told her I could not verify it when I was not able to verify any of it. I did use that as the gospel truth. I told her I could not verify it when I was not able to verify any of it. I did not use any of it for no longer quivering. When Todd lost his job, she said CenturyLink was leaving Minnesota. Not true. They did lay off people. Then she said it was because of her son's medical bills, but not true. It was something else. Somebody came into Reddit and said that they knew Todd and they knew Catherine, and they claimed that he lost his job because he had an accident, hit somebody else's car or somebody else, and they drug tested him and he popped positive for marijuana. I don't know. I don't know how true that is, but I know that was something they were talking about on Reddit. Somebody posted. They also posted that KJ had given him 2 STDs before they ever got married. I find that kind of suspicious. I've got to say that right there. But she said enough things about KJ that somebody has definitely got an axe to grind. But they're not jumping out there all the time. They just made the one posting and then left. We all know, Carol, that his loss of his job at CenturyLink was likely something else, some scandal. And you could always tell when things are going poorly for them because that's when he'll start yelling and she'll start doing those lies where she's not quite lucid. One thing we haven't seen this time is crying. We haven't seen the crying KJ yet. We've seen KJ bringing out her child as, oh, poor me. We've seen her try to deflect right back on the people stuff she's doing. We've seen all those actions. I actually wrote them down the other day because I'm thinking about doing a pack of tarot cards, doing the artwork and everything based upon some of the actions we've seen. Like her doxing people, releasing tax records and criminal records. I would think that that would be against the law. She does that. And then she goes, but my child. And then the next thing from there is a lot of times there'll be suicide threats and tears. We haven't seen suicide threats and tears yet. We haven't seen CPS just got called out to my house, or the cops had to show up and make sure I wasn't committing suicide. Those are 2 other actions. Oh, yeah, Christine, why don't you think we'll see her crying? I think we might. I think if she gets desperate enough, it might happen. Can't turn the pages. And she's bought some really crazy stuff with her extra money. A purple stone bracelet. She bought a big fancy manufactured diamond ring. It was a manufactured stone. I have one that's a manufactured. Why? Because somebody stole my wedding ring and I wanted a ring, but I didn't want to buy diamonds because diamonds, they come inherently with a lot of baggage because children are used to mine diamonds, gold, all sorts of things. And I've already decided I'm not buying any more real stone, anything because of that. I don't want to contribute to that problem. It's a too big thing. She bought that Godzilla bag by Coach. She bought a really ugly purse from Coach too that looked like rickrack. She bought that heartbeat necklace, that gaudy ring I was talking about a little while ago. Mine's gaudy too. So I'm not throwing shade at her and saying mine is gorgeous. No, I have a big square one like that. It's gaudy as hell. She had a $500 Lego shopping spree. And she begs about this stuff. And she's had much more Botox injections and all those different things, as far as I can tell, as far as what her face looks like sometimes. I think it didn't work well the last time. She gets more sympathy using her son. KJ had some bruises on her wrist that looked like finger marks to this old RN. Renelle did a video. Yeah, Carol, I saw that. I saw those pictures. And I thought the same thing. You know, I've wondered about the relationship for a long time because every now and then we'll see him lose his temper on camera. And if he's losing his temper on camera, what the hell is happening behind the scenes? You can't tell me that they're doing like my husband and I. Earlier when we went to a store to look at their selection of air conditioners. Air conditioners. I don't know how you say it here in Costa Rica, but they were playing. They should play salsa at this place really loud through these speakers pounding in the parking lot. This time they had what sounded like waltz music, and I was picking on my husband. I was going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, because I had worked with him relentlessly before my daughter's wedding to teach him how to waltz. So he came up and we waltzed in the middle of the parking lot in front of God and everybody else and everybody in the store staring at us. We have that kind of goofy relationship. There's yelling occasionally, but it's small and there's never hands on anybody. I get bad vibes from Todd. Christine, same. Same, and that temper. I will say, though, I'm going to give Todd credit here, besides liking the history videos he's done. He takes care of that child. He seems to be the primary caretaker of the child. And all I can say is one parent has to be. It has to happen for the child to turn out halfway decent. I've shared that was my father with me. My mother hid in the bedroom and drank. That was just her jam. She was very unhappily married. She paid me no mind at all, but my father, he more than made up for that. Okay, Java Man, here is what you miss. Caroline, Sarah Ann, I've gotta answer that. Well, whenever KJ streams from her bedroom, you can see the holes in the walls. Yes, I've noticed that about her house, and I've wondered how they got there. Do you think he's punched the walls? Java Man, basically, Mrs. Cartman Crane, who I think is Erica, is rather upset with me. She's rather pissed off because she's made all these allegations about KJ having all these cash apps and making money supposedly for this and that and the other thing, and that there's legal paperwork being filed and she's being sued for this or that. And I basically said from day one when they were contacting me with this, I said, receipts or it didn't happen. If you know me, you know I'm all about the receipts. I have to see what's happening. I can't really say from somebody I don't know running their mouth that this is really happening. Oh, Java Man, no, that's tomorrow. This was actually a totally different thing. I wasn't even going to do another video or anything today because I did a small video this morning where I was talking about some of the Fundy Town crap. So Carol, you're right. If she showed up at your door and said she needed shelter, I'd let her in and protect her. Carol, I would do the same thing in a heartbeat. If he was abusive to her and I knew about it, I would say, get on that plane, come down here, come live in my guest house for a while until you get yourself together and figure out what your next step is going to be. Why haven't they fixed it? It's so strange to me. I don't know. They seem to spend their money on strange stuff. That's all I can say. No, Java Man, what happened was Mrs. Cartman Crane started bitching about the fact that I had blocked her and that I wouldn't believe her over her claims of legal things happening to KJ that had nothing to do with everything else going on, because I asked for receipts, and then when she wouldn't provide receipts and started saying I was impacting her dollar amount, I was impacting her income. I said, how am I impacting your income? Well, she never explained it to me. She would never tell me. So I have no way. I just finally just hit block. So that's what that was all about. I had so many people asking me about this situation and Mrs. Cartman Crane that I finally just said, I got to go on and talk about this. And I was going to do it mid-afternoon, but Costa Rica, we lost power for 2 to 3 hours today. And I just put on my swimsuit, stuffed myself into my giant footy ring that looks like a pink flamingo and just blissed out, had a few waters. I just took a break away from reality and from life. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Maybe the wrist marks are from getting freaky with it. Brenda Lee, I would say normally, but here's the thing about the wrist marks. I don't know how they came about, but she's talked about their sex life being non-existent. So I wouldn't think that that's what's going on. I would never say it about my husband. KJ says only schedule such things once a month. Java Man, I don't even think that's going on. I think that it's Todd could be posting on Reddit in the dead in the bedroom section because there's a bunch of that going on there. But I am going to also say I have a friend who I've written about extensively in my book I'm working on, named Lana, who I adore. But Lana is so different than I. She is a type A personality, and she is the most organized person I've ever seen in my entire life. I envy her because she would like be birthing a baby, making bread, cooking dinner, fixing somebody's torn clothing, um, doing the books for her husband's business, doing the church books, planning the next worship thing, all at the same time. And I would be horrified to be like, how can you do that many things in that short length of time? How can you maintain the energy? When I saw what she would do in a day, when she would tell me about it, I would immediately feel tired and feel like laying on the damn floor. It would be like, how are you doing all of this? Are you snorting Adderall? What's going on, Lana? And she said, no, this is just my wifely duties. I was like, well, I don't feel convicted to have those kind of wifely duties. But what was funny about Lana is she scheduled sex once a week with her husband. And all of us that were close friends knew not to call them on that night because they put everybody to bed. They told the kids not to knock on the door unless the house was on fire. If the house was on fire or a tornado was coming, you could interrupt them. But that's what they did. They scheduled their sexy times. I don't about the previous discussions about children sleeping with parents. At medieval times, the entire family would sleep together. Java Man, not even that long ago in America, people did that. A lot of times, you might have an entire family sharing two beds or one bed or a bunch of pallets on the floor next to each other. There wasn't, until Victorian times, there wasn't really much separated sleeping. And even then, it was only the wealthy that could do that. Did you hear about Alex Jones' order to pay $45 million there in Newtown, Connecticut? Yes, I did hear about that. I am fairly new, less than a year. I respect those that have better understanding than me. Laura, I appreciate that very much. But I tell you, welcome. Welcome to this side. Welcome to the dark side. We have cookies. Sandy Hook, that was the name of the school. You're exactly right, Java Man. It is a shame that in one of the greatest nations in this world, we can't figure out a way to prevent violent young men from obtaining assault rifles and killing innocent school children. To me, that is one of the things that really needs to happen. You don't want to ban guns? Fine. I don't have a problem with people having hunting guns and handguns depending upon need. I do have a problem with people owning assault rifles. I don't see any reason why you would need one of those. Ban the assault rifles. That would cut a lot of this nonsense down. 7M goal is to get her off social media. I know it is, and I hope they're successful. I hope they get her banned from it. You know, Josh Duggar's probation says that he can't look at porn or possess a computer or anything like that. I think it's going to take an order like that to keep her off, just like Natalie Kennedy is supposedly banned, even though I keep thinking I see her popping up. As I said, KJ is the only YouTuber to have inspired a decentralized resistance. What is that? Movement spanning several nations against her. Alex Jones makes me sick thinking he could win. Yeah. She has unified all of us. And it's funny because every now and then Todd will toss some kind of flaming bon mot at us, like when he called us Pitchfork Nation. And I was like, Pitchfork Nation. That's kind of sort of what we are, because we're a group, like a group of villagers come together to take out a monster for the common good with our pitchforks and our flaming things, and so I've embraced that. If somebody calls you something and you're looking at it going, yeah, you could say that. It's better to embrace it so that they can't ever use that to try and harm you. My kiddo had a wicked hard time staying at her dad's last time because she'd get scared and lonely and climb into his bed as usual. But last time she'd wake up alone on the couch again. He said his therapist says it messes up kids to sleep with parents. I highly disagree. She still comes to my bed many mornings, goes back to sleep. Brenda Lee, we did family bed and told my kids were old enough to want to sleep apart from us. We did that. And usually by like 3, 4, when you're starting to gain a lot of independence and you got that no thing going on, they evicted themselves from the bed. So we did it. And I'm glad we did. I think we have a closer relationship with our children that started back in those days. So I'm a big proponent of that, even though I know there's people, especially in the Christian movement, that think that if you sleep with your children, it's the most horrible thing on the planet. It isn't. It isn't. There's many awful things. And Brenda Lee, sometimes even to this day, I get cuddles in the bed when I'm over there. And Angela Barnett, I don't like Alex Jones and his lies. He's another one that tells lies that just bothers me. For a while, my husband was watching a couple of Fox News hosts that I could sit there saying, that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. One of them was talking about Costa Rica and said we were an island. And I said, well, gee, I'm sure Panama to the south and Nicaragua to the north would be extremely surprised to hear we're an island, because we're not an island here at all. And then he said that we were poisoning tourists with guaro. It's like, no, that happened in Dominican Republic, which is an island, which is in the Caribbean. It's not bordering the Pacific like we are. So he finally saw that this guy didn't have a clue and finally stopped watching him. I was really happy. And don't think I wanted to watch CNN either. I'm not happy with news organizations in the country. They've all had the Katie Joy effect happen, where they're all trying to go for clicks and coins with the most outrageous crap on the planet, take in extremist views all over the place. I consider myself somebody who's kind of right in the middle, and how I view life and politics, everything. Whatever is the kindest that helps out people, that gets people fed, gets them housed, gets them jobs, takes care of their health issues, I'm all for it. That's it. That's where I fit in with all of that. So these people that are spinning conspiracy theories piss me off. Geography knowledge is lacking. You would be shocked to know how many people I've spoken to who don't know that all the major countries like France, China, and the UK. I'm not surprised at all. And I think that falls back to Katie Joy too, because I've noticed that some of her hardcore people, when they discuss things, don't have the firmest grip on education themselves. 6 hours marketing a new assault weapon to civilians that can penetrate all but the toughest armor. Java Man, I saw that, and that is scary. That is scary. Anybody who is not military or shouldn't be having assault rifles, and I'm not even sure I'm happy with military having them either, except that I know that others are having them in other countries. But at the same time, I want to throw this out. I'm not a big fan of the Marshall Plan and some of these other decisions to police force the entire world for the U.S. to do this. We need to stay out of other countries' squabbles and let them iron it out. We're not in a World War situation where there's so many countries fighting that there's an obvious good and an obvious evil. I was sad when we pulled out of Afghanistan the way we did. Not that I thought we should be there, but if you're in a place, you can't just abandon people like that. You just cannot do it. It was just heartbreaking to watch that going down in real time. So One of the YouTubers I follow, a guy by the name of Kelsey, who is a 747 pilot, who also he also flies the Boeing Dreamlifters. He had done a number of airlifts out of Afghanistan, and he was talking about how nerve-wracking it was. That rifle cost $8,000? Java man, what is that even for except to murder people? That's what bothers me about assault rifles. I mean, if you have a regular rifle, you can go out and hunt. You take an assault rifle out there, Bambi is going to be ground round. I swear, the older I get, the more disgusted I get with a lot of folks. A lot of folks. I just don't get it. I don't get it. And speaking of not get it, I got to figure out what this cat is driving me crazy for. So I'm going to have to go and see. If nothing else, I got to unfold all the rugs she's folded because I'll forget and I'll get up in the middle of the night and slip on something. If there is a way to slip, fall down, do something dumb, man, I've signed up for that. I am really clumsy and more so since the stroke. Could you have monkeys outside? Carol, I do have monkeys outside. I have wild monkeys that come to our house every day. I'll have to post a picture or two because there's one that comes to the window when I'm in my sewing room. He comes to the window and looks in at the cat. He's fascinated by the cat. Not that cat, but Stinky, who's a black and white tuxedo cat. He is fascinated by Stinky. And I don't quite get it. If I could get the video off of my iPad and onto here, I'd post the video I took about maybe a month or so ago of probably 25 monkeys in the tree over the house, swinging and doing various things and play fighting with each other. I'm sure Kitty likes him too. Kitty does not like Stinky. I call her Barky. And Stinky hates her with a passion. With a passion. And she doesn't get along with anybody else. Stinky has his favorites that he gets along with or not gets along with. And we've had some fun times here feeding the feral cat population. We've been doing that 2 years now. And I've gotten to know most of them. And most of them are tame enough for me to pet now. Not all of them, but most of them. We've got quite the feral cat society around here. And there are lots of dogs here. I happen to be allergic to dog fur, so I just look at people's dogs and say, buen perro. Beautiful dog. Good dog, good dog. Buen perro. Oh. So one last Katie Joy thing before I sign off. Anybody ever heard her speak Spanish? I'm avidly curious about that. I've never heard her speak Spanish. I know she studied Spanish in college. She went to Spain for a while. I'm just curious as to what her level of Spanish is. Mine is crap, but I'm starting to be able to hold tiny conversations. Like today, I was walking through the co-op to go look at their air conditioners and then to look at all their kitchen stuffs because I want a kitchen island with granite on the top. And Peggy Hill, I mean, maybe I sound like Peggy. And I walked past somebody I knew pretty well who's waited on me a million times there, and we started having our little conversation, and I actually managed to spit it all out. I feel like the best is moderately good. If you don't use it, you lose it, especially languages. Foam, that is correct. And one of the bad things that I've had, I don't have a natural tendency or talent for languages. My husband does. He speaks a whole pile of them. Whole pile of them. He's teaching English right now to a pile of Costa Rican kids who are competing for a college scholarship in the U.S. He's been doing this since the day he got here. He's been teaching kids to pass that test, the TOEFL test, to be able to apply for these scholarships and get their college completely funded. But me, we lived in Germany, and I had taken German, and I had pidgin German when I arrived, and by the time I left, my German was pretty decent. We were there 4 years. So the problem is now I took Spanish classes at the local school at Germana, and I my Spanish was poor at best when I first got here. It's better now. I have lots of little conversations, but not anything huge. Someone said she did, and it wasn't that good for someone who had a degree, but then her English grammar is poor and her pronunciation is worse. Yep, 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 yep. And I'm not willing to go after her too much on the pronunciations because I myself stumble and struggle now ever since I got put on Lyrica. Lyrica will mess with your mind and everything else. And sometimes it messes with me, pulling out my giant drug bag because it's soon time to take drugs, legal ones, unfortunately. So that's another thing about Minnesota that fascinates me now. Legal marijuana, legal. I was on medical for some time for my asthma in the States, and it was the best thing ever for asthma. I saw a news story for that the last two speakers of one language don't like to talk to each other. I saw something about that too, and I laughed. That's terrible. She does so much with her Spanish language degree that there wasn't much room left for the Spanish. So what happens with me is I try to speak Spanish and sometimes German comes popping out. My brain thinks German, primary language. And if I'm holding little conversations like, hola, muy bien, ¿y tú? Asking them how they're doing, saying, I'm doing well back. How are you doing? Hasta la vista. Give me a pound of this. Those are the conversations that I can have. Or wait a minute, I'll get my husband. Wait a minute, I'm pulling out my credit card. Things like that. Practical things I can handle. But I can't have long philosophical conversations in Spanish. Sounds correct because she doesn't seem to be concerned about details. So minute grammar rules of pronunciation probably aren't her concern or liking. That is that's unfortunate because how you pronounce things makes a difference. I don't want to get here and sound like a total gringo. Hola. I've heard that instead of hola. So I try to tune my ear to how the people who live here are pronouncing things. And that can be a challenge because they go blah, 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 blah. Sometimes it's a challenge. Sometimes I have to say repite, which means repeat, please. Repite, por favor. Repeat, please, because I didn't get it because they were so fast. That is so funny. Truthfully, I don't think there is much room in her head. It is so filled with hate. That could be. And we don't know. I went through two Spanish 1, Spanish 2. I walked away not speaking Spanish at all, with only the fuzziest idea about how to put together sentences, not having great sentence structure. I loved one of the scary movies where the ghost child said, "Your Japanese is awful. It dishonors my ears." Yes. Grammarly Pro would help her a lot. I've seen her make so many misspelling errors. And what's the deal with putting the capitalizations randomly when she writes? That kind of blows my mind. She struggled at Pathos with minor things like that. And it's always those little details that will trip you up. I got to read you a quote that I wrote down actually the other day. I was reading a book, and this just struck me. I'm going to make a meme out of it eventually because it struck me as something so true that I've known about life. Okay. That it's just one of those things that it screws you up. And I believe she's dealing with it. I think she's dealing with it. Oh, and it's noticeable. My BFF is Puerto Rican and grew up here, Massachusetts. She's fluent in Spanish, but when she's in PR, like right now, they can tell by her accent she's not from there herself. Yeah, I know. I know. And if I'm listening to somebody from Spain speaking Spanish, the accent is completely different. I have trouble sometimes when people are from Nicaragua. Yesterday, I had a guy from Mexico that was trying to get a parking, like some parking money out of us. He asked me for a peso. And I was just like, no comprende, because I couldn't understand what he was saying. And it did finally dawn on me. He was speaking Spanish, but he was speaking a Mexican version of Spanish that I just was not used to, even after watching Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad and hearing it spoken over and over. This quote, this is about ignoring the details and trying to take shortcuts. I believe she's exactly the kind of chick that takes shortcuts and ignores the details. And that will trip you up every single time in life. That's something I was trying to impress upon my son the last time I was there. He was not very detail oriented when he programmed a address into his father's phone, and it resulted in us going 20 minutes out of our way and his father kind of flipping out because his father is a craven Luddite that does not understand technology. Okay, this is actually Ice-T. Ice-T wrote a book with a best friend of his who did many years in prison, and the book was fascinating. Not so much because the Ice-T stuff. The prison stuff to me was fascinating. It's an indictment of our entire judicial system, what happened to this kid. It's something that needs to be completely redone. It's kind of like the difference between US, UK, and Canadian English, or Northeastern US versus Texas. Yep. My daughter-in-law is from Panama, and she gets so upset about Mexican Spanish, Carol, because it's so weird to the ear if you're hearing something from somewhere else that you're hearing it, and you're like, it's the same language. How are you doing that? Okay, this Ice-T quote, it struck me at the time as one of these fundamental truths, and I really like Ice-T. There's very few actors or anything, famous people I follow on my Twitter, but I follow him. I like a lot of what he has to say. You're looking for a shortcut, but that shortcut ends up being a long ass journey through hell. And that's the reality of trying to take shortcuts and ignoring the details in work, in life. It always bites you in the ass, so please don't do it. I learned that a long time ago. And that's why I tend to be kind of hard on Tico repairmen. I tell the story of the 3 plumbers that I had fix the toilet, and the last one I stood over him and walked him through it step by step because I knew how to do it. I'm just too old. I don't feel like picking up the toilet and draining it and all that nonsense. So there's no shortcuts in life. No shortcuts at all. And the other thing he said that struck me in that book is if it costs you your peace, it's too expensive. He has been through it. And that's why I think it gives him some gravitas to actually speak about this crap. You're talking about men running amok in the previous post. It reminded me of a clip in the movie Hocus Pocus where one of the witches is saying, amok, amok, amok. Yeah. So one thing about the Ice-T book that gave me horrible shivers, he talked about doing what he called a lick, which was going into a fancy going to a fancy jewelry store, pulling a hammer and beating in the cases and taking all the jewelry, a snatch and grab, was how Ice-T for a long time supported himself before the music business. And he talked about even going out of town to do it. You know, when I was in college, one job that I had that I held the longest, and it would have been exactly the same time frame he's talking about, was at a large manufacturing jewelers in New Orleans. And we never had any problems with being robbed. Never, never, never. I knew the boss was paying protection to somebody, and that was probably why it wouldn't happen. And one day we had guys that were obviously from their accents out of towners casing the joint, and we knew what they were doing. And it was the freakiest feeling. And we were thinking they were going to rob us, smash in the cases, grab the crap, and go. My boss called his contact, and those guys disappeared. You wouldn't want to do it in the town you lived in. Yep, you sure wouldn't. You would want to do it somewhere else. Probably paying attention. I see. No, he was paying it. He was paying protection to our local Italian society. I don't want to call them by the he was paying them and they were doing that. But they dealt with these two guys and I don't know how they bum rushed them out of town or what they did with them, or maybe they fed them to the alligators in the swamps. I don't know. KJ reminds me somewhat of Jim Bob. They both isolate their children, refuse to let them be individuals. They both lie and connive to get to the top. They both also create a whole mess of issues. You're exactly right. They probably have more things in common than one would think. That would be my understanding of it. I have no love for Mr. Jim Bob Duggar. I think that he has done his children dirty. I think that as time goes on, they're going to figure it out. They're all going to fall away, or the majority of them will, I think, eventually. And we'll see a tell-all book telling everything that happened. I thought there would be Derek writing that, but now I'm not so sure. Now I think it's going to have to be somebody else. And the first one to write the book is going to be the one to get the money. And on that note, I've already rambled way too long. I'm going to go ahead and go. My husband should be back from his barbecue with his buddy, watching another buddy play the saxophone at a bar I've sung at, but I'm not singing at anymore. Okay. She would go ballistic if she saw that. Yes, she would. I still think that Jim Bob should be called to testify about his support for the death penalty for child porn viewers. Java Man, I was hoping they would call him even as a hostile witness in Josh's trial and needle him on that. Sweet dreams, everybody. Have a good evening.